Hello friend, how is it going? Welcome back to Toyota Maintenance YouTube channel. We have another subscriber of this YouTube channel stopping by at this shop and saying hello and requesting very detailed inspection on his pride and joy 2003 Toyota Tundra SR5 two-wheel drive with incredible 240,000 miles on the clock. And we were joking when we were talking about the life and the truck that she is a cream puff. She's beautifully clean, and even if you look in the engine bay where I finish my inspection and I lift her up to go under, the even engine bay looks absolutely gorgeous. We can get a shot of it later. I went through the engine bay and basically I didn't see any concerns for right now except the spark plugs. He has a correct Densos K20RU, but the gap on them, the tip on the spark plug is burned. The space between tips supposed to be 0.8 millimeter and his leg is up to 2 millimeters. However, when you scan computer, there's no codes and engine runs like a Swiss watch. So that was the only thing I brought for him as soon. Everything else, stuff like brake fluid and so on, I put well in the future. I saw very tiny seepage of the oil on the valve covers. The spark plug tube was perfectly dry, the coil was perfect, so that's not leaking around the seals, tube seals, but on the outside the lower areas were very slightly wet with the oil. So I wrote for him, hey, both valve covers seeping oil, replace gaskets in the future. Well, how wrong I was. And you couldn't see it from the top, but the moment I lift her up, I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of oil here. Where is it coming from? And I want to show you. She really looks impeccable. Everything is nice and shiny and clean. The camera will probably not show it. Absolutely zero oil anywhere. That was the impression. I took the skid plate off, it was here, but I took the skid plate off because he wants me to look on the condition of the timing belt. And for that I will be turning this main crank pulley with this bolt. I will be manually turning it and observing timing belt, probably most likely in different video. So everything's dry here. This is just from oil changes, but bang, look here. Start looking with me here. So you immediately will think, hey, I have a power steering rack, or the line, one of the lines is leaking oil. Well, not so fast, my friend. We have to investigate a little bit more. So again, right here you will say, oh, the power steering rack is leaking. So clear, so obvious. And if you didn't pay attention, you will completely dismiss it and write, oh yeah, you needed the new rack. Because it kind of makes sense. You see the boot wet and so on. But if you study the oil, and he's using Dexron 3 in the power steering system, so it should be a red or slightly reddish. This is clearly, if you pay attention, this is actually engine oil, it's not the power steering oil. Now I wanna zoom, I grab this camcorder instead of those Sony cameras with the wide angles. I have a zoom here. And the purpose is to show, look at that. We have the exhaust manifold heat shield. It's actually dripping oil from above there down here on our power steering system. If you look on the back of the head, do I have it correctly? Where are we? Yeah, if you look back there on the aluminum head, they're still all clean and dry. However, when we will move here, and I will show you the back of that valve cover, that's the bolt. It's the very last bolt right there. Do you see that oil dripping right there? So being in the engine bay and looking from above, I already wrote, hey, in the future, no big deal today, you can go on your trip. However, this is the game changer. Sorry for the shakiness, but I'm holding it with the hand. Can I show it better? This way maybe? Yep. Do you see that? Active dripping of the oil right from there. So basically it was a mistake. It was hidden from me. We have actually pretty active engine oil leak going all the way down here, and it is coming from driver side back of the valve cover. And that obviously changes the whole situation, because it's basically a miracle that he doesn't smell yet that oil dripping on that heat shield. That heat shield is doing really good job, that it cannot touch the exhaust manifold itself. Other than that, there will be a lot of smoke. He will 100% smell it in the cabin. When you will open the hood, you will see it coming up. So that shield is perfectly doing its work. And from the top, I had no idea. I thought it's just barely seeping and not being active, but it's definitely a big one. So I will continue with this inspection. I will re-evaluate. I will write it down that I see actually the large leak from underneath. Continue with that, and if I will have a time, because time is everything, always the problem, I would love to show you how you can actually, on this 4.7 liter V8, kind of inspect the condition of that timing belt without removing ton of stuff. Here I maybe can show you how it all looked innocently from above. As we said, cream puff, absolutely beautifully clean, everything. That silver is silver, all the parts are wonderful. And that's why in beginning I was calling it just very slight seepage, because the amounts of oil where it just looked to me, it just started. But getting underneath, actually there on that very corner, it's way worse than I saw from here, so I'm glad I caught it. Obviously we are filming this so everybody can learn from that. Here you can see typical dirty throttle body, so I wrote it in the inspection. Muff is very slightly dirty. This throttle body is more, so it should be cleaned. But everything, all the plans or checking out the timing belt through one of these top valve covers, that has to wait, because this gentleman, this owner, is on the road trip. He wants to travel a lot, and there is no way we will let him drive away with leaking valve cover, which is actually pretty serious on this side. And while I'm doing that, he very correctly agreed on replacing those spark plugs. Now they were correct, I mentioned it already. They were correct Densos, but hopefully this camcorder, which has pretty good capability to show the details, because I can get very close to the lens. Maybe you will see how that tip of the spark plug is burnt off. It's not the top, but it's the tip. Basically the back of it, it's completely burnt off. Is it better this way? Well, then there is not a background. So instead of 0.8 millimeter on those, there is basically almost 2 millimeter difference. The engine still doesn't put any check engine lights, but this is completely no-brainer. These spark plugs are not very expensive, and when I'm there, it doesn't make sense to leave it there. That's going out too, so he approved that, and this is what I will be doing this afternoon. Another interesting thing which you might find on these inspections. Look down there on that, let me rest that camcorder and zoom on it. Look down here. This is AC compressor. There is that kind of golden bracket which just supports the mount for these wires. Look at that 14 millimeter bolt. It backed out from there. It unscrew itself. I can totally freely move it with my fingers and screw it in, and it didn't completely fell out because that golden plate, the golden plate is there and stopped it from basically falling out. So I will use 14 millimeter wrench and correctly torque that long bolt. So thank you for watching, and be subscribed. I have way more coming your way soon. See you later, my friend.